Hello and welcome to the Enterprise Talk Conversation Series, a peer knowledge resource by the CXOs for the CXOs. Now to our host, Kanika Goswami.
Hi, we welcome you to our podcast on stage with enterprise thought leaders. My name is Kanika Goswami and I'm the managing editor of Ondot Media's 6 B2B enterprise technology publications. We have engaging conversations with global thought leaders and industry experts, which reach over 1.3 million businesses leaders worldwide. Continuing with our series of conversations on enterprise technology and how to harness it most effectively, we shall be discussing yet another significant subject for CIOs today, the leadership challenges in the digital age. And to share his insights on some of these challenges and how CIOs can navigate them, we have with us Toby Alcock. He's the CTO of Logicalis. Welcome to our show, Toby. It's great to have you here with us.
Thanks, Kanika. It's a pleasure to be here.
I'm sure, and I'm really looking forward to a very interesting conversation. This is, one of the topics that is constantly bandied about, and there are really no cut and right solutions for the kind of challenges CIOs face today, right? So we hope to have a very interesting and in-depth discussion with you. But first, a little bit about you. As the CTO at Logicalis, Toby plays a crucial role in shaping the company's technology strategy across cloud, security, digital workplace, and connectivity, leading the development of cutting-edge solutions that address the evolving needs of his clients across the globe. Prior to his tenure as Group CTO, Toby held the CTO role in Logicalis Australia, spearheading the development of local innovations in the Australian market. He also previously owned and operated CNI, a Microsoft certified gold partner, who provided technologies that delivered business value through IT, focused on Microsoft Azure. So you're a cloud expert as well. Toby thrives on understanding customer challenges and helping them to create a blueprint for repeatable and sustainable change. With a wealth of experience which spans over 2.5 decades, he's highly regarded for his technical leadership and commitment to achieving sustainable business outcomes. Extremely interesting and very impressed, Toby. Kind of you know, uh, a little on the back foot here. Would you like
I
to say
think anytime you have a marketing team write a bio, it can look very impressive,
no,
can't it?
no, no,
But
no, don't
hopefully
say
we'll
that.
share some insight.
You have not said anything that you are not. So, I'm still. But on that note, can I ask you to say something about Logicalis that our audiences may want to know?
Yeah, sure. And for those that don't know Logicalis, we've got a long heritage all around the globe, and we've grown over 25 plus years through acquisitions and through organic growth. We now operate in 29 countries. We have over 7,500 staff, about 10,000 customers. And in my time in global role the last 3 years, we've made a really big push on managed services and moving to that services-led digital first outcomes for our customers. So really looking forward to the conversation today.
I'm sure you have a lot of tips to share for our CIOs. So my first question, and I think the most generic one we have today is, what do you see is the biggest challenge for CIOs in achieving a successful digital transformation? Digital transformation is something which cannot be put off. For those organizations who've already gone through it, it's great. For those who haven't, what are the challenges that CIOs face? No, even after transforming digitally, there are challenges that CIOs face, right? So what would you identify as the most significant ones?
Yeah, it's a fascinating time for CIOs, and digital transformation has resulted in this surge of new processes, new products, new services. And it's made so much noise that it's really quite challenging for the CIO to identify and communicate what really matters for their business. And so these IT leaders need to have a strong grip on how their infrastructure drives business outcomes and the necessary data at hand to communicate that across the business. We ran a survey recently with our customers and CIOs all around the globe, and it said that 62% of those surveyed said that they'd experienced or anticipated transformation projects being cancelled or delayed due to cost restraints. And so being able to justify that business impact and business outcome is really important. Another key trend that we've seen is moving to these business outcomes. And a lot of people ask me, what are the outcomes that matter for a CIO? And so we've put together what we call a hierarchy of outcomes that shift the focus away from those traditional technology metrics to 5 crucial business-driven outcomes. And these drive business value in this modern digital landscape. So being reliability, security compliance, economics, user experience, and sustainability. And we've found that as CIOs start to talk back to their stakeholders and their business in terms of those 5 outcomes, they have much more impact in their organization.
So, are you saying that communicating on these 5 points can make the job easier?
I think it's actually critical because if you look at the new stakeholders and the shift in power for our customers and also the budgets where they're held in our customers' organizations, 10 years ago, most technology spend occurred within the IT budget. But now, Gartner, Forrester, IDC, all the analysts are showing the same thing. More than half of the technology investments happening in a business are happening outside of IT. We refer to it in technology as shadow IT, but if you talk to the business, they just refer to it as getting the job done. So that spend and that transition of who owns that budget is really important. And so if the IT leaders want to remain effective, they have to talk back to these stakeholders in a language that resonates with them. And so we find these outcomes help to bridge that gap of talking from technology to a business outcome.
So, two things here, Toby, that I understand. One is digital transformation was never about just technology. In any case, it was about completely changing the way the organization works, and that includes all the stakeholders. And the second thing is that you probably are, not probably, you are trying to say that CIOs need to be explaining to the stakeholders what is at stake.
Yeah, if digital transformation has been used so much in our conversations over the last few years that I find people don't really have a consistent meaning of it. And so where I talk to our customers when they talk about digital transformation, it's not about digitizing paper-based processes, but it's moving to digital first revenues and finding new revenue streams for their business. So to cut through a bit of that noise and technology, the way I describe it is talk to our customers about their customers and how do you help them to engage with your business more. And the more we talk about our customer's customer, that helps to explain the why behind digital transformation. So there's digital first revenues, apps and web-based and new marketing techniques, and all of that still relies on the technology. In fact, it's more critical than ever to have those systems up and available because now if they go down, it can result in a significant loss of revenue. So reliability is becoming really important for digital transformation as well.
So, do you think that a lot of IT leaders are very technology focused? They are not really great businessmen, at least not the last generation of the CIOs and the CTOs. So, you feel that they require to become a little more tuned into the business needs of the or the needs of the customer in the market in adoption of technology going forward. So, the challenge would be for them to change into that direction.
Yeah, we talk a lot about moving from the basement to the boardroom for the CIO, and our CIO reports over the last decade have talked about this transformation of the modern digital first CIO as a business leader. If you go back 10 years ago, it was enough to just sit in the basement, keep the systems running, and as long as it was up and available, no one really bothered IT. But now it's about having that stakeholder impact in the boardroom. And the CIOs are being asked to come into that boardroom and talk about how they're going to help optimize the operations and reduce the spend in the business for the same level of outcome. They're being asked to stand in front of their board and put their hand on their heart and say, we are security protected, we're compliant, our data is protected, our users are protected, we're not going to be next on the front page of the news for a security breach. They're being asked what we're doing with Gen AI and analytics and all these different technologies to help drive the business forward. So a great opportunity, and we're seeing a lot of our CIOs making that step into the boardroom and amplifying their impact across the organization with stakeholders that even 5 years ago they probably never spoke to. So I do think CIOs get a bit of a bad rap sometimes, and IT leaders do get a bit of a bad rap sometimes because they have been promoted up through technology career paths. But now's the opportunity to really amplify their impact across the business by thinking about that shift into the boardroom.
So it is for the newer generation of CIOs to make the change right in the beginning. So they can be business leaders more than IT leaders or just technology leaders. And yes, it used to be just keep the lights on till about a few years ago, but that's not the case anymore. So I would like to bring in technology here.
Sure.
After all, it is digital technologies. What role do you think artificial intelligence plays in the, I mean, not the cliched artificial intelligence, is everything. There is data, there is a chief data officer to support the CIO, there is a chief digitization officer to support the CIO, there is a whole lot of those roles there. But artificial intelligence is the single biggest critical technology which has changed the face of almost everything. In your mind, what role does it play in the new CIO's role for a digital transformation project, if we can call it that?
Yeah, we can't have a conversation at the moment without AI entering it. So I think we've done well to last this long without it coming in. But businesses are all banking on the potential of AI. Our survey this year shows that 89% of CIOs are seeking opportunities to incorporate AI into their business, and 85% have earmarked budget just for development on AI. But what's interesting is that CIOs are acknowledging the risks associated with the leadership expectation on AI. There is a lot of buzz in the market, there's a lot of hype and a lot of promises being made that AI is this magical solution to any problem your business has. So there's some interesting opportunities and some threats there that I think need to be looked at. I think, firstly, the opportunities is it can absolutely transform business models and boost efficiency with automation and driving differentiation. AI can identify opportunities that no amount of people can. And it's not just about the resourcing power here, but the reality that there's a set budget that IT leaders are operating within. And if they had the luxury of hiring 10 people to go and drill into that data, they could probably come up with more business opportunities. But instead of having to hire 10 people, they can start to leverage these technologies, particularly in cloud-based, consumption-based models, dip their toe in the water, try and find some results for the business quickly, and then expand from there. Another opportunity we're seeing with AI is balancing efficiency gains with cost savings and driving more business sustainability. This is something that we've rolled out for our customers with our Digital Fabric platform, and it gives IT leaders an instant view of their digital performance across the platform. So seeing those efficiency gains, showing you the results month on month, and identifying further opportunities to drive that business forward is quite important. And, as security services rise, I think AI has a key role to play there to help identify threats instantly and reduce downtime. AI can do things that no amount of people is going to be able to do in a timely manner. So investing in AI allows companies to keep a lean security function and keep those costs down. But on the flip side of those opportunities, there is some threats, and the excitement and the buzz around it isn't without apprehension. Most CIOs are expressing worries about AI threatening their core business propositions and concerns about challenges of effectively regulating AI use internally. There's been a lot of posts and a lot of media recently around how do you govern AI? How do you control AI? How do you avoid putting your data out into the public domain in these large language models? So we've seen the majority of people have kicked off processes to formalize those policies, but it is pretty early days and it does feel a bit wild west at the moment. And also, I think on the security side, we're seeing the threat actors leveraging AI and leveraging these technologies to make better attacks, more automated, more targeted, more precise. And so all of our respondents in our survey, about 83% of them said that they've endured a cyber attack in the last 12 months, and they've had significant business consequences in the last year. And so with that level of a response there, it's little wonder that they're operating in this state of hypervigilance at the moment. So just some of the threats and opportunities there that we're seeing with AI.
So I was going to ask you about the impact of artificial intelligence on cyber threats. What can CIOs do about it, or CISOs do about it? Because AI here is a double-edged sword. It also makes the cyber attacks far worse, but it can also mitigate them. So what are they picking up?
Absolutely. I think preparation's key. Every organization has to accept that they're going to experience a cyber breach at some point and be prepared for that scenario. Even that is a pretty sobering thought and fairly jarring for the traditional technology purists out there. Being digitally resilient, though, isn't about never being breached. It's just about recovering quickly and cleaning and moving from a disaster recovery approach to business continuity. We talk about operating in a zero trust model now that acts on the assumption that every device is trying to access data, and therefore limiting the access to the users and the data to just what they need, and limit that, what we sometimes term a blast radius, limit the impact that these threats can have if you are breached. So in that model, even if one device is breached, zero trust helps to ensure there's no knock-on effect and going through the whole business, and thereby you limit the damage caused. So being prepared and assuming that you're operating in a breached environment really helps to hone that focus on limiting the blast radius or how much impact that has. But we can also leverage AI to fight AI, analyzing copious amounts of data and providing a comprehensive overview of every vulnerability in your platform. It helps you to be more prepared for that threat ahead. But look, this is still a challenge. In this year's survey, we see 43% of CIOs still feel that their business is completely prepared. So less than half say that they're completely prepared to handle another major security breach. Even though more than 80% have had a breach, less than half of that number feel they're ready for another one. So it's a bit of a sobering thought for this year.
And even those who are saying who are completely prepared do not know where it's going to come from next or how it's going to look. So
absolutely, you've just got to assume it's going to come anywhere at any time.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That risk is just getting worse. So in that context, CIOs have a not enviable, a very, very unenviable job of keeping the lights on. And today's time and dates, when it may not be so easy to do that as it was, because there were limited threats, everything was limited a decade ago, 5 years ago, and now there seems to be no limit from to where the threats can come from. They don't have a great job, like I just said. So while trying to innovate on their technologies, innovation also falls on the CIOs, and then they have to navigate that landscape in which they are required to innovate. They are required to do better things with the technology that they have available while trying to fight the cyber threats and also compete in the market. How do you see them navigating this minefield, if I can call it that?
Yeah, it's a pretty accurate description of a minefield. The CIOs have a really complex role to play here, but I believe that they're well placed for it today, with more business and boardroom visibility than ever before. They have a great opportunity here. The CIOs really do understand the momentous stakes that are at hand here. Ultimately, CIOs, modern IT leaders, need to be able to speak a common language with their stakeholders and give them answers to the questions they're asking, such as, are we getting the maximum value out of our technology platforms? Super relevant conversation at the moment, particularly in the economic climate we have today. How's the digital performance? How's our user experience? Because that's impacting attraction and retention of talent. It's impacting how much revenue we're making on these platforms. And so those questions are very different to what they're used to face. And now we're seeing questions coming to the CIO like, what's the carbon impact? And what's the energy efficiency of these solutions? And I think that's our real opportunity by moving our conversation from speeds and feeds of technology to these business outcomes. The IT leaders can have a much, much greater impact and really significantly increase their business value.
So it finally comes down to ROI on various levels. They're going to be asked about what they did with the IT budget. They're going to be asked about how much damage they went through because of the cyber risks, and they're going to be asked about the sustainability factor as well. It is a minefield, like I mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
So as AI becomes critical to enterprise, do you see adequate skills? That is the other question which comes up. A CIO will need to have an extremely skilled and forward-looking team to support if they were to navigate the minefield, so to speak. So would they have security preparedness, awareness, ethical awareness, AI skills, and all of these things to make sure that they succeed in the operational environment that they work in? So given all of these situations, what would be your advice to a CIO in today's day and date? After you've spoken to a whole number and done this survey, and you've really gathered some insights about what they need to do and what they are prepared to do, what would be your advice to them at this point in time?
It's a really good question. The CIOs are facing this dual dilemma of how do you lead the organization forward and drive innovation and growth faster than ever before, but also protect them from these evolving digital threat landscape and other disruptive forces like the market and the lack of talent and economic climate and everything you just mentioned, that minefield. So without sounding too much like Mr. Miyagi from the Karate Kid, I think that CIOs need to become masters of balance across several dimensions. And so that balance is a lot of work, but it can be relieved with the support of a managed service provider. So looking at short term versus long term, where can I deliver the quick wins for the impatient executives, but keep the organization's technical debt in check? How do I balance build versus buy? Take a look of where your internal team's strengths are, and then look for help where specialized capabilities are lacking. It's hard to attract some of this talent, and sometimes it's better to just buy that in from a managed service provider than try and attract and retain the talent within your single organization. And then this balance of innovation versus protection, prioritizing the security hygiene of everything you implement and having security baked into everything you do to allow you to move forward faster. Security needs to be there from the very first conversation when you're scoping solutions with partners, and then helping those solutions cost effectively scale with capability and expertise. If we see security put into the start of a solution and the start of a conversation, we see the business actually able to move faster. And so that's where we see a big opportunity of leveraging security and AI technologies that help you to have more confidence and therefore move forward even faster as a business. But I think the key for CIO is balance on those different terms.
So they have to pick their way very carefully between the mines on the minefield.
It's not an easy task, but I think that now more than ever there is technology available, there is advice available, there is partnerships available. So if you use the minefield analogy, we've got more technology to be able to identify where those mines are and partners to hold your hand and walk you through that minefield so you can make it through safely and successfully.
That's good. So, would you have anything to add to this? Because these are the questions I could think of when I saw the report that you shared. Is there anything we've missed here, Toby?
Just having a look at some of our statistics on the report.
Would you
AI
like
and
to share?
cyber is a big one. We've talked on that. I think those are very big discussion points. I think we've covered that fairly well. I'm just having a quick flick through to see if there was any other stats that came through that were interesting.
The CIO, how do you perceive the how do you see the person to be? Is he a business strategist? Is he a technologist? Is he an IT leader? What is he or she or they? I mean, irrelevant.
I think the modern CEO needs to be a bit of all of the above. And that's hard because I have a phrase I've used many times over the years of being a jack of all trades but a master of none. I don't think they've got the luxury of that. You can't really be expert in all these areas. So if I had to pick one, it would be, how do I apply technology to deliver the business outcome? I think in this world we have today, in the modern world today, there is so many different areas that we can leverage technology. The answer isn't really can we do this, it's should we do this? And how do we do this with the technology that's there? If you go and look on any cloud provider, there is a myriad of services that can offer to solve your problem, but you have to know if that problem's worth solving. And if you solve it effectively for your business, what does that mean for their stakeholders? So I'd put the business outcomes number one, and then everything else flows from there. If you can know that's your North Star and know that's your goal that you're driving for your business, you'll be relevant in the boardroom with your stakeholders, with the budget holders, and then you can bring to life those outcomes, leveraging the technology experts, whether they're in your team or with managed service providers or key partners, to deliver on those outcomes. But I think I'd start with the why, as Simon Sinek famously said.
Yes, that makes sense. So more of business leaders than anything else, and also they should understand the value of investments that they are putting into technology. So it is not technology for technology's sake; it's for enabling better business results, right?
Exactly. If you can't communicate what the value of this investment is, it's really hard to get it approved. And so that's why we go back to that hierarchy of outcomes. Talk to the business about reliability, security, compliance, economics, user experience, sustainability. They're the five that are resonating really well with our CIOs and their stakeholders at the moment. And I think if you have those bases covered, you're going to be very well positioned for maximum impact in your organization.
And I think that with that we come to the end, and extremely interesting conversation. Thank you so much for your time, Toby. Um, Very nice. And I'm sure my audience would also be able to derive a lot of value from what you just said. And we have already shared your report on our publication, so that will add as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your time. I really enjoyed the conversation.
So did I. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being with us. Please do follow us on social media for regular updates and new content.